Sarah smiled. Emma starts preschool next month. Real preschool, not just daycare. She's so excited. Sarah's hands trembled as she scanned the soldiers' groceries. The tall man in the leather jacket had circled the store 3 times, always keeping her in view. She'd noticed him an hour ago when her shift started. Now he stood by the magazine rack, pretending to read, his eyes fixed on her register. The soldier, Marcus, noticed her shaking fingers as she reached for his milk carton. She dropped it, their eyes met. "He's been following me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The man in the leather jacket, please." Marcus didn't turn around. He kept his expression neutral, continuing to place items on the belt. "How long?" "An hour, maybe more. He came in right after I started my shift." Marcus pulled out his wallet slowly, his training kicking in. He'd served 2 tours overseas and recognized genuine fear. This wasn't a girl seeking attention. Her pupils were dilated, her breathing shallow. "Does he know you?" Marcus asked quietly. "No, I've never seen him before today." The man in the leather jacket moved closer, now standing 3 aisles away, still watching. "Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to The Goodness Effect." Marcus made his decision. He pulled out his phone and pretended to take a call, speaking loud enough for others to hear. "Yeah, I'm at the store, running late. The line is long." While talking, he texted his friend Jake, a police officer. "Situation at Morton's grocery. Possible stalker. Need backup. Quiet approach." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "My manager doesn't believe me. She said I'm being paranoid." "You're not paranoid," Marcus said firmly. "Keep scanning. Act normal." The man in the leather jacket moved to the end of her checkout lane, picking up a chocolate bar from the display. He was now close enough that Sarah could smell his cigarette breath. He smiled at her, a cold smile that didn't reach his eyes. Sarah's next customer, an elderly woman, approached with a cart full of groceries. The man in the leather jacket stepped aside but didn't leave. He leaned against the candy display, arms crossed, watching Sarah's every move. Marcus paid for his items but didn't leave. "My wife forgot to add something to the list. I'll be right back." He walked toward the produce section, circling behind the man in the leather jacket, memorizing every detail. Marcus positioned himself where he could observe both Sarah and the stalker. The man was in his late 30s, approximately 6 feet tall, with a scar above his left eyebrow. He wore expensive shoes, contradicting his worn leather jacket. A silver watch caught the fluorescent lights. Jake's text came through, 10 minutes out. Don't engage unless necessary. 10 minutes felt like forever. Marcus grabbed a basket and began shopping, staying mobile, keeping visual contact. The man seemed aware of Marcus's presence now, glancing his way occasionally. Sarah finished with the elderly customer. A young mother with 2 children approached her register next. The stalker shifted his position, moving to a better vantage point near the customer service desk. Marcus noticed something else. A silver sedan parked directly outside the store's entrance, engine running, windows tinted. The license plate was partially obscured by mud. Professional. This wasn't some random creep. This was planned. He texted Jake, silver sedan outside. Engine running. This is organized. Sarah glanced toward Marcus, her eyes pleading. The young mother was taking her time, letting her children place items on the belt. The stalker checked his watch, then his phone. Marcus approached the customer service desk, near the stalker. "Excuse me," he said to the clerk. "Do you have any rain checks for the cereal that's on sale?" The clerk began searching through paperwork. Marcus stood inches from the stalker now, close enough to see the tattoo on his neck, a symbol Marcus recognized from his military days. Prison ink. The stalker's phone buzzed. He read a message, his jaw tightening. He looked directly at Sarah, then at his watch again. Whatever was supposed to happen was on a schedule. Marcus's military instinct screamed danger. This wasn't just a stalker. This was an operation. But what did they want with a young cashier? He pulled out his phone and took a picture of the silver sedan, pretending to photograph something else. The stalker noticed and stiffened. "Nice watch," Marcus said casually, not looking at the man directly. The stalker ignored him, but his hand moved to his jacket pocket. Marcus recognized the gesture, checking for a weapon. Sarah's voice cracked as she spoke to her next customer. The manager, a woman in her 50s, walked past without acknowledging Sarah's distress. She'd dismissed the complaint earlier, too busy with inventory. Marcus made another decision. He walked to the manager. "Excuse me, I need to report something." The manager barely looked up. Customer service is at the front desk. This is urgent. That man in the leather jacket has been harassing your cashier. Sir, I've already looked into it. There's no issue here. There's a vehicle outside with its engine running. The man has been watching her for over an hour. This is serious. The manager sighed, annoyed. I'll handle it. Please continue your shopping. She wouldn't handle it. Marcus knew that tone. He was on his own, until Jake arrived. The stalker's phone buzzed again. This time, he answered, speaking quietly in a language Marcus recognized, Russian. The conversation lasted 30 seconds. When it ended, the man's demeanor changed. He was done waiting. He walked directly to Sarah's register, cutting in front of an elderly man who was next in line. Hey, the elderly man protested. Emergency, the stalker said coldly, not looking at him. Sarah's face went pale. Her hands froze over the scanner. Marcus dropped his basket and moved quickly, positioning himself behind the stalker. There's a line, friend. The stalker turned slowly. Up close, his eyes were dead, emotionless. Not your business. It is now. The tension in the store shifted. Other customers sensed something wrong. The young mother with children quietly moved away from the register. The elderly man stepped back. Sarah, the stalker said, using her name. He'd read her name tag, but the familiar way he said it made her flinch. I have a message for you. She's not interested, Marcus said firmly. From your brother. Sarah gasped. I don't have a brother. Yes, you do. Tom. He wants to see you. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. She gripped the counter. Tom is dead. He died 3 years ago. The stalker smiled that cold smile again. No, he didn't. He owes people money. A lot of money. They want you to know he's alive, and you're going to help pay his debt. Marcus stepped between them. Walk away. Now. Or what, soldier boy? You'll fight me in a grocery store? The stalker's hand moved toward his jacket pocket again. Marcus's training took over. He assessed exits, civilians, potential weapons. The store had 23 people inside. The front entrance was 30 feet away. The back emergency exit was closer, but led to an alley. The stalker had backup in the silver sedan. Security is coming, Marcus lied. You have 30 seconds to leave. Security. The stalker laughed. This place has one 60-year-old security guard who's on break. I know because I've been watching this dump for 3 days. 3 days. He'd been planning this for 3 days. Sarah found her voice. Tom is dead. I went to his funeral. I buried him. You buried an empty casket, sweetheart. Your brother faked his death to escape his debts. But debts don't disappear. Someone has to pay. And that someone is you. She owes you nothing, Marcus said. The stalker ignored him, pulling out a phone and showing Sarah a video. Marcus couldn't see the screen, but Sarah's reaction told him everything. She staggered backward, her hand over her mouth. That's Tom, she whispered. That's him. He's alive. And he'll stay alive if you cooperate. $50,000. You have 2 weeks. I don't have $50,000. Sarah's voice rose, drawing more attention. Several customers moved toward the exit. Then you'll figure it out. Get a loan. Sell things. We don't care how. But if we don't get our money, Tom dies. And then we come for you. Marcus had heard enough. He grabbed the stalker's wrist as it moved toward the jacket pocket. The motion was swift, precise. Military training against street experience. The stalker was fast too. He twisted, attempting to break free, but Marcus had leverage. I said walk away. Let go, or this gets ugly. It's already ugly. The stalker's free hand shot toward Marcus's face. Marcus blocked it, redirecting the energy, forcing the stalker backward into a display of potato chips. Bags exploded across the floor. Someone screamed. The manager finally ran over. What is happening here? Call the police, Marcus commanded. Now. I'm calling them about you, the manager shouted, confused about who was the aggressor. The stalker recovered quickly, reaching into his jacket. Marcus saw the gun before it cleared the leather. He drove his shoulder into the stalker's chest, pinning him against the display. The gun clattered to the floor. Customers ran for the exits. Sarah stood frozen behind the register, shaking. Get down, Marcus shouted to everyone remaining. The stalker threw an elbow, connecting with Marcus's jaw. Pain exploded through his face, but he didn't let go. They crashed into another display, cans rolling everywhere. The stalker was trained too. His moves were calculated, efficient. He got an arm free and landed a punch to Marcus's ribs. Marcus grunted, but maintained his grip. Then sirens. Beautiful, blessed sirens. The stalker heard them too. His eyes widened, and he fought with renewed desperation. He couldn't be caught. Not with the gun on the floor. Marcus drove a knee into the stalker's stomach. The man doubled over, gasping. Marcus used the moment to put him in a chokehold, the same hold he'd used countless times in training. "It's over," Marcus said quietly in the man's ear. But it wasn't. The stalker smiled through his pain. "You have no idea what you just started." The store's front doors burst open. But it wasn't Jake, it was two men from the silver sedan, both armed, both moving fast. Marcus released the stalker and dove for the fallen gun. His fingers closed around cold metal as the first shot rang out. The bullet shattered a light fixture above Sarah's register. Glass rained down as she dropped behind the counter. Marcus rolled behind an end-cap display, returning fire once. His shot went wide deliberately, aimed to deter rather than kill. There were still civilians in the store. The stalker scrambled toward his associates. "Get the girl." Marcus fired again, this time hitting the floor in front of the advancing men. They stopped, reassessing. Professional criminals didn't risk their lives unnecessarily. They wanted easy money, not a firefight. "Police are here," someone shouted from outside. The stalker cursed in Russian. He and his men had seconds to decide. Through the store's front windows, Marcus saw Jake's patrol car pulling up, lights flashing but no siren. Smart. Jake was assessing the situation before charging in. "Next time, Sarah," the stalker shouted. 2 weeks. 50,000. The three men ran for the back emergency exit. Marcus wanted to pursue, but his priority was the civilians. He stayed where he was, gun-trained on the exit until the door slammed shut. Jake burst through the front entrance, weapon drawn. Marcus. Status: 3 armed suspects fleeing through the back. Silver sedan out front might have more. Store is compromised. Jake spoke into his radio, calling for backup and describing the suspects. Within seconds, 2 more patrol cars arrived. Officers secured the perimeter. Marcus lowered his weapon, hands visible. He placed the gun on the floor and stepped back, following protocol. The last thing he needed was to be mistaken for a threat. "I'm former military," he called out clearly, gun on the ground. "I'm unarmed now." Jake recognized him and nodded. "Clear. Anyone injured?" Sarah stood slowly from behind the counter, her entire body shaking. "I'm okay. I think I'm okay." The manager emerged from her office, her face white.
What just happened?"
"Your cashier was being extorted," Marcus said, his voice hard. "I told you it was serious." The next 20 minutes were chaos. Police secured the scene, took statements, and checked for injuries. The silver sedan was found abandoned 2 blocks away, stolen plates. The 3 suspects had vanished into the city. An officer interviewed Sarah, who could barely speak through her tears. "My brother," they said, "my brother is alive, but he's dead. I know he's dead." "We'll investigate," the officer assured her. "But right now, these people made threats against you. We need to take that seriously." Marcus sat on a bench near the registers, an ice pack against his swelling jaw. Jake sat beside him. "You always this lucky?" "Lucky would have been if they never showed up. You could have been killed. So could she." Marcus looked at Sarah, who was surrounded by officers and victim advocates. They had a whole operation planned. This wasn't random. "The Tom Bennett angle is interesting," Jake said, checking his notes. "We need to verify if he's actually alive." Sarah reported him dead 3 years ago. Overdose, supposedly, but if he faked it, then she's in real danger. If her brother owes money to the kind of people who send armed men into grocery stores, they won't stop. "We'll put protection on her." "For how long?" 2 weeks. 2 months. These people have resources. Jake didn't have an answer. Sarah approached them hesitantly. "I want to thank you. You saved my life." Marcus stood. "You're not safe yet. Do you have somewhere to go?" "Family out of state. I have my mother, but she lives across town. She's sick. I can't leave her." "Then we bring her to you," Jake said. "We'll arrange something safe." 2 days later, Marcus met Jake at the police station. The investigation had uncovered disturbing information. "Tom Bennett is alive," Jake said, spreading photos across his desk. "These were taken 3 months ago in Chicago. He's mixed up with a Russian crime syndicate that operates across multiple states." Marcus studied the photos. Tom looked like Sarah, same eyes, same cheekbones. But his face was harder, marked by addiction and poor choices. What did he do? Borrowed money to fuel a gambling habit. When he couldn't pay, he faked his death and ran. But the syndicate found him. They always do. Now they're using Sarah as leverage. 50,000 is nothing to these organizations. Why go after her? Because it's about power and principle. If they let Tom run without consequences, others might try. They're making an example. Sarah pays, or they kill Tom, and probably her too. Marcus's jaw tightened. What's the plan? Officially? We're offering Sarah protection and investigating the syndicate. Unofficially? These organizations are nearly impossible to touch. They operate across state lines, use shell companies and have lawyers on retainer. Even if we arrest the guys from the grocery store, 10 more will take their place. So Sarah just lives in fear, unless we find Tom and he cooperates, or she somehow pays them off. Neither seems likely. Marcus thought for a moment. What if there was a third option? I don't like that tone. These people operate on fear and reputation. What if we take that away? Marcus, don't. I'm not suggesting anything illegal, but I know people, military people, security contractors. What if Sarah suddenly had protection they didn't expect? What if approaching her became more trouble than it's worth? Jake leaned back in his chair. That's a dangerous game. You could paint a target on your back too. Better me than her. I signed up for danger. She just wanted to work her shift. Over the next week, Marcus organized something unprecedented. He reached out to old military contacts, veterans who now worked in private security. He explained Sarah's situation. The response was overwhelming. Within days, Sarah had round-the-clock protection from former Special Forces operators. Her apartment building suddenly had security measures that rivaled government facilities. Her mother was moved to Sarah's apartment, safe and secure. The syndicate noticed. Their next approach was more cautious. A phone call instead of an in-person threat. Marcus was there when Sarah received it. They had her phone monitored, the call traced and recorded. "Who is protecting you?" the voice asked, in accented English. "People who don't scare easy," Sarah replied, her voice stronger now. "This changes nothing. The debt remains. Tell Tom to pay his own debts. I'm done." "You don't get to be done." Marcus took the phone. "Yes, she does. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk away from Sarah. You're going to forget she exists. Because if you don't, every move you make in this city will be documented, photographed and sent to federal authorities. We have resources you can't imagine. We have patience you don't have. And we have nothing to lose." Silence on the other end. "Test us," Marcus continued. "Please, give us a reason." The line went dead. 3 weeks passed without incident. The syndicate made no further contact. Jake's investigation revealed that Tom Bennett had been found dead in Chicago, an apparent overdose. Real this time. The syndicate had made their example, just not the one they planned. With Tom gone, Sarah's usefulness as leverage disappeared. The organization moved on to other, easier targets. Sarah's life slowly returned to normal, though she never worked the late shift again. The grocery store installed proper security and trained managers to take threats seriously. That small victory felt significant. Marcus stopped by the store one afternoon. Sarah was working the register, and her smile was genuine. "Hey stranger," she greeted him. "Regular shopping or checking up on me?" "A little of both." She scanned his items. Milk, bread, cereal, normal things. Safe things. "I never properly thanked you for everything you did. The protection, the support. You changed my life. You would have done the same." "I don't know if I would have been that brave." "Bravery is being terrified and doing it anyway. You were brave first. You asked for help. That takes courage." An elderly woman approached the register with her groceries, the same woman who'd been in line during the confrontation. She recognized Marcus. "You're the soldier who protected this young lady," she said warmly. "I come here just to shop at her register now. If more people stood up like you did, the world would be a better place." Other customers nodded in agreement. Word had spread about what happened. Sarah had become something of a local hero story, the young cashier who survived. Marcus was the guardian angel who appeared when needed. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who did what anyone should have done. As Marcus paid for his groceries, Sarah slipped a note in with his receipt. He read it in his car. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for caring. You restored my faith in people. Sarah." He folded the note carefully and put it in his wallet. Jake called that evening. "Thought you'd want to know. We arrested 3 members of the syndicate in connection with Tom Bennett's death. Your recordings helped. Federal authorities are building a larger case." This might actually make a difference. Good. You did something remarkable, Marcus. You should feel proud. I just helped someone who needed it. That's what makes it remarkable. Most people would have walked away. After hanging up, Marcus thought about that moment in the grocery store when Sarah had whispered her fear. He'd made a split-second decision to get involved, to help a stranger. That choice had escalated into lawyers, investigation, and weeks of protection detail. But it had been worth it. Sarah was safe. Her mother was safe. A dangerous organization had been disrupted. Sometimes the right thing isn't the easy thing. Sometimes courage means standing in a grocery store and refusing to walk away when a frightened young woman whispers for help. Marcus drove past the grocery store one last time. Through the windows he could see Sarah at her register, laughing with a customer, living her life, free from fear. That was enough. That was everything. 3 months after the incident, Marcus received an unexpected call. It was from a number he didn't recognize, but something told him to answer. "Is this Marcus?" A woman's voice asked, older, tired, but warm. "Speaking. This is Helen, Sarah's mother. I hope you don't mind that Sarah gave me your number. I wanted to speak with you personally." Marcus sat up straighter in his chair. "Is everything all right? Is Sarah okay?" "Oh yes, she's fine. Better than fine, actually. That's why I'm calling. I wanted to thank you properly. And I wanted to tell you something Sarah doesn't know yet." Helen explained that she'd been diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. The treatments were expensive, and Sarah had been working double shifts to help pay the medical bills. That's why she couldn't afford to miss work, couldn't afford to make waves with her manager, couldn't afford to seem difficult. "She never told me about the man following her," Helen said, her voice breaking. "She didn't want me to worry. But if you hadn't been there that day, if you hadn't believed her when her own manager didn't, I don't want to think about what would have happened." "How are you doing now?" Marcus asked gently. "I'm in remission. The doctors are optimistic, and that's partly because of you too. When Sarah didn't have to worry about those men anymore, when she felt safe again, she could focus on helping me heal. Stress was killing us both. You gave us peace." Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd never considered the ripple effects of that day. "There's something else," Helen continued. "Sarah's been accepted to community college. She's going to study criminal justice. She wants to help people the way you helped her. She starts next semester." After the call ended, Marcus sat in silence. One decision in a grocery store had changed the trajectory of multiple lives. Sarah would become someone who helped others. Helen was beating cancer. The syndicate members were facing justice. A week later, Marcus was invited to speak at a local community center about veteran transition and civic responsibility. He almost declined. Public speaking wasn't his strength, but he thought about Sarah's courage in asking for ferv and he accepted. The room was packed with veterans, community members and young people. Marcus told the story of the grocery store, though he kept Sarah's name anonymous. "I didn't do anything special that day," he said to the crowd. "I just didn't look away. That's the real challenge we face as a society. Not whether we're capable of helping, but whether we choose to see people who need help." An older veteran in the back raised his hand. "But you put yourself at risk. Most people wouldn't do that for a stranger." "Most people would," Marcus countered. "They just don't realize it until the moment comes. Every person in this room has the capacity to be someone's hero. You just have to be present when the moment arrives." After the talk, several people approached him with their own stories. A teacher who'd intervened in a bullying situation. A nurse who'd noticed signs of domestic abuse. A teenager who'd called police when he saw something suspicious. Each person had made a choice to get involved. One young man, probably 19 or 20, waited until everyone else had left. "I work at a fast food restaurant," he said quietly. "Last week, a girl came in and seemed scared. A guy was waiting for her outside. I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing. She left, and I never saw her again. I think about her every day." Marcus put a hand on the young man's shoulder. "You're thinking about it now. That means next time you'll act. We learn from the moments we miss too. What if I'm wrong? What if I make things worse? Then you make things worse trying to help instead of doing nothing." "I can live with the first one. I couldn't live with the second." The young man nodded slowly, absorbing this. "Thank you." Marcus drove home that night, thinking about all the Sarahs in the world, people facing threats, feeling scared, needing someone to believe them. He thought about all the Marcuses too, people capable of helping but unsure whether to get involved. His phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "News. Big arrest in Chicago." Syndicate leader connected to Tom Bennett case. Your testimony might be needed. Federal case building. This wasn't over. It might never be completely over. But it was progress. The next day, Marcus returned to the grocery store. Sarah was working, and she broke into a huge smile when she saw him. "Guess what?" she said excitedly, barely able to contain herself. "I got the scholarship, full tuition for the criminal justice program. Your mom told me you were accepted." "That's incredible." The scholarship interview asked about overcoming adversity. I told them about everything that happened. About you. About learning that there are still good people who help strangers. The interviewer cried. Marcus felt his own eyes getting misty. "You're going to help a lot of people, Sarah." "I want to be a victim advocate," she said. "I want to be the person who believes people when they say something's wrong, like you believed me." An announcement came over the store's speaker system. The manager's voice. "Attention shoppers, we're offering 20% off all produce today." Sarah rolled her eyes. New manager, she's actually decent. The old one was fired after corporate found out she ignored safety complaints. Turns out I wasn't the first person she dismissed. Good riddance. The security guard was replaced too. Now, we have an actual security presence. Armed guard during evening shifts. Panic buttons at every register, training on how to handle threats. Everything changed because you didn't walk away. A line was forming behind Marcus. He needed to let Sarah work. But before he left, she said one more thing. "I'm writing a paper for my English class about everyday heroes. Can I interview you?" "I'm not a hero, Sarah. You are to me. You're a hero to my mom. You're a hero to everyone who shops here now knowing they're safer." Maybe you don't see it that way, but we do. Marcus agreed to the interview, which took place at a coffee shop the following weekend. Sarah came prepared with questions, a notebook, and a recorder. "What made you decide to help me that day?" she asked. Marcus thought carefully. "I saw someone afraid, and I had the ability to help. It's that simple. My military training taught me to assess threats and act decisively. But it didn't teach me to care. That's just being human." "Were you scared?" "Terrified. But fear is information, not a stop sign. It tells you the situation is serious, not that you should run." They talked for 2 hours. Sarah asked about his military service, his transition to civilian life, and his philosophy on civic duty. Marcus found himself opening up more than he expected. "The hardest part about coming home," he admitted, "was feeling like my skills didn't matter anymore. Like I'd trained for a mission that was over. Helping you reminded me that the mission never ends. It just changes location." Sarah stopped writing and looked at him seriously. "You gave me my life back. How do I ever repay that?" "You don't repay it. You pass it on. You help the next person who's scared and alone. That's how we change the world. One person choosing to see another person's fear and responding with courage." 3 more months passed. Marcus received a package in the mail from Sarah. Inside was her English paper, graded with an A+, along with a letter. "Marcus. My professor loved the paper so much, she submitted it to a national essay contest. I won 2nd place. The prize money is helping my mom with her medical bills. But more importantly, I wanted you to know that I used your advice. Last week, I saw a woman in the parking lot who looked scared. A man was following her. I walked up to her, asked if she needed help, and stayed with her until security came. The man left. She cried and thanked me. I thought about you in that moment. I thought about the grocery store. I thought about how one person's courage can echo forward, creating more courage in others. You started something bigger than you know. Thank you for being the first domino." Sarah. Marcus kept that letter on his refrigerator. On difficult days when he questioned whether his actions mattered, he read it again. The world changed slowly, one brave decision at a time. One person believing another person. One stranger helping another stranger. It wasn't dramatic or newsworthy most of the time. It was quiet courage in grocery stores and parking lots and community centers. It was Marcus seeing Sarah's fear and choosing not to walk away. It was Sarah seeing another woman's fear and doing the same. The cycle continued, spreading outward like ripples on water. And somewhere in those ripples, humanity found its better self, not in grand gestures or headlines, but in small moments of choosing to care when it would be easier not. That was the real story. Not the confrontation or the arrests or the investigation. The real story was what happened after. Lives changed, courage multiplied, and a young cashier becoming the kind of person who makes the thirst safer for others. Marcus understood now what he'd been searching for since leaving the military. Purpose wasn't about the size of the mission, it was about showing up when someone needed you and choosing to help. Everything else was just details.